RedSox.com.
The energy.
So the barber trims my beard all nice, like an artist. Now, I didn't tell him to do that. I wanted the beard gone. So then I went home and shaved it off completely after I was done. I felt horrible.
The passion.
Rafael Devers is the biggest contract in franchise history. He needs to be a leader for this Red Sox team.
The opinions on all your favorite teams.
Are the Patriots close to playoff contention? Yes. Are they close to Super Bowl contention? Hell no.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday here on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Full show today. We're up until 7 o'clock, all 90 minutes here on the show. It's just you and me today. A guestless show today. We were going to try to maybe make something work with Freddie Coleman today. We were going to have him yesterday. Freddie and I will just reconnect next Wednesday like we're supposed to. You and me, all 90 minutes, full show today. Let's do it. You can get in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line, 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. So make sure to blow it up there and keep me company here. And what a dreary night it is all of a sudden out there. I just looked out the window in the commercial break, little snow, little rain coming down. Ugh. So just you and me for the next 90 minutes. The show is brought to you by Fecto Homes, and let's waste no time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
The opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show are brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. I had another, oh wow, I'm getting old realization the other day. And these realizations are starting to come more frequently. If you are someone who is older than me, you have undoubtedly had a number of these yourself, and you're probably sitting in your car going, yep, I remember that one. If you are someone that is younger than me, you are probably thinking, oh boy, what do I have to look forward to? But these I'm getting old things are coming to me now with more regularity. And they're now happening when I don't realize it. Like, there are things that are fairly obvious, right? Where I'm like, okay, I've never heard of that band. I've never heard of that song. I've never heard of that actor or that actress. Like, so there are things where it's pretty easy to tell. I've never heard that slang phrase. There are things like that that are easy where I'm like, oh boy, okay, I'm a little out of touch. Sometimes, though, they sneak up right on you. And I will keep this as, you don't want to hear the disgustingness about my feet, but I'll just tell you this kind of plainly. I have not very good feet. Apparently, as I've gotten older, I've developed not very good feet. I play basketball every week, but once I do, my feet end up blistered and torn up. And I can play, but by the end of one game, my foot is sore, and then I take off my sock, and I notice that my foot is all cut up. And that's every time that I play. Like, I would love to play basketball more than once a week. I don't know if I can. I don't know that my feet would be able to last. Like, I play like every Wednesday, and it takes my feet about a week to feel really good again. And then we play, and then the whole thing happens all over again. So, and I've tried everything, right? I've tried everything. I've worn 2 pairs of socks. I've got special socks. I've tried gel insoles. I've got better shoes. I've tried no insoles, whatever. No matter what happens, my feet end up blistered, calloused over, and then cut up by the time I play basketball. So I go to play basketball the other night, right? And the game's at 7:45. And I came right from the show, right? The show ended at 7. I get there 7:30 or so. I got 15 minutes till game time. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting down next to a guy who's on my team, and he sees me. I'm taking my sock off, and I'm applying Vaseline to my foot. This is what I'm now trying to save my feet, because I did a little amateur doctoring, and I went on Google and I started looking up, like, what do runners use for blisters? And it said that runners will put Vaseline on their feet, on their trouble spots, to help not get blisters. And the thought process kind of makes sense, right? If you have a blister, it's ideal. It's probably because you're getting friction from things rubbing against each other, right? The foot is rubbing against the sock, which is rubbing against the shoe. If you put on Vaseline, you're reducing friction because Vaseline is slippery. So that's the process. So I'm sitting down at 7:30 next to this guy, and he sees my foot, and he goes, ugh. He's like, oh, boy. And I'm like, yeah, and I told him the story I just told you. It happens every time. And I'm rubbing my foot up with Vaseline. And then I go and I rub up the other foot with Vaseline. And I put on my sock. And then right then it hit me. I am now the people that my dad used to play with. It hit me like a ton of bricks right then. I am like the people that my dad used to play with. My dad would play hoops every Wednesday with some work buddies. And occasionally when they needed a guy, they would ask me to play, right? I was like between 16 and 20. I lived at home again for a bit from like 23 to 26. So sometimes I would play then, but they didn't want me there unless I was needed because I was so much younger than all of them. And I'd get there and I'd get out of the car, throw on the shoes, a couple of warm-up shots, let's play. And then it was like, we wouldn't play for a while. And I'm like, we got here at 7. Why are we not starting until 7:20? And it was because this guy needed to put on his ankle braces. And that guy needed to put Bengay all over his back. And that guy needed to make sure he dribbled a bunch. And that guy needed to stretch. And I'm like, let's just play. We're here. Why are we not playing? It's because everybody had their pregame routine they had to go through. And I was like, wow, these people are like, what are we doing here? And then it hit me the other night. That's now me. I now cannot play without a pregame routine, right? Like I'm there, I'm in the lobby, I'm lubing up my foot, both of them. Then I'm putting on the sock. And then I got to finish the routine and put on both ankle bracelets. I'm like, I am now that guy. I went from 16 playing with my dad, making fun of those guys, to being 33 and being that guy. And I'm like, how the hell did we get here? Seriously, how did we get here? Because some things are obvious. They slap you in the face that I've never heard of that movie. I've never seen that band. I don't know who's number 1 on the top 40 charts anymore. That's fairly obvious. And I can laugh that off. But this, I was like, oh my God, how did we get here? What has happened and how did we get here? I can't play now without having to go through a series of complex things just to be able to play. Like, I can't play now without my ankle braces. I can't play now without apparently lubing up my foot with Vaseline. And it's all just for the effort of being able to run up and down for an hour? Like, this is what getting old is like? Text says, getting old means one is a survivor and finding new ways to thrive no matter the disturbances. So I guess I'm getting credit there for figuring out ways to adapt my body for competition. But man, that hurts. Like, that stinks. Other texter says, how did you play and did it work? Well, it worked well enough. My foot is not as torn up as it usually is. And I actually played very, very well. I scored 34 points. And the best part was that there was a guy about 10 years younger on me. And that made me feel old too, because I have always been the young guy who guards an older guy. And like, because I've always been, or I'm used to being, the young guy in every situation that I've been in. And now I'm realizing I'm not the young guy in every situation. Guy guarding me was like 23. And I'm like, this guy is quicker than me, can jump higher than me, has a quicker first step than me, is just as long as me. I'm like, oh boy, what am I going to do? Then I went out and scored 34. Luckily, I hit shots. Like, this guy was good. 34 makes him sound like he wasn't, but the shots that I got, I just made. And I made like all of them. What was cool is that one of the other guys who's about my age said, hey, he is young, but you gave him his welcome to the league moment. That made me feel good that I gave somebody a welcome to their league moment. But damn, I was the whole day I was like, really? This is where we're at now in life? That I've got to be the routine guy? I never wanted to be the routine guy. Everybody, when I played with my dad, had a thing. Again, the court would reek of Bengay from somebody's bat. Is Bengay even still a thing? Icy hot now, Tiger Balm, whatever. The court would reek of that stuff. And now I'm that guy. My friend Steve over in Facein says, I'm laughing out loud. This is me word for word, except that it was for when I was playing hockey instead of basketball. Texter says, my 4 coworkers in my department at work are the ages of some of my children. I can relate to signs of getting older. Thankfully, I have more energy than they do, and I tell them they are getting old. Well, I am thriving. Texter wants to know if I played as well as Arnie, who's my old coworker over at my previous station. Arnie and I didn't play each other today, but we did play each other the first game of the season. I had 26 that game. And yes, I'm a loser. I know what I scored in men's leagues. It's absolutely a loser move, but that makes me a loser. So be it. I'd like to know, though, that this happens to other people. I'm glad to hear Steve feels this way, too. Like, I can, like, when I play baseball now, you know, it used to be, now baseball is a little bit different, right? Baseball was never just lace them up because it requires you to warm up and throw and stretch and all that. But like now, in order to play baseball and pitch, I got to go through an extensive routine too, but that one never felt as weird to me as what happened the other day. Like playing baseball, I got to get there and I got to jog and I got to take a, run foul pole to foul pole and I got to stretch. And that's typical. You see that in the majors. I did that in high school. So that wasn't new to me. What was new to me was this on Wednesday night. And then playing baseball, I got to run. I got to put Tiger Balm on my arm and I got capsaicin on my elbow and I got this pad and that sleeve and all that. Texter says, I love routines. They help me get in my groove. Well, I think getting in a routine is good if you're like, okay, I'm going to get there and I'm going to dribble around for a little bit. And I'm going to go through this ball handling exercise and I'm going to hit 5 free throws before I go and I'm going to do a couple layups. Like that's a routine that you can get behind. Rubbing Vaseline all over your foot doesn't feel like a routine that I wish that I had. I wish that I didn't have to have that routine, but I'm trying to save my foot from being all cut up. I mean, and seriously, I'm talking like, I wouldn't go, it's not like gnarly. It's not like my foot is bleeding at the end. I don't want to oversell it. But what happens is that my foot I'll play, and then my foot will get, the ball of my foot, where you're constantly turning, will get all kind of graded, and then it will callus up, and it will be very, very hard. And then when you play, again, you'll start to tear apart the callus. And that's just kind of the vicious cycle that I've been in for a while since I started playing again. Like I started playing basketball really again, every week, like last summer. I took like 2 years off because of COVID, just because everything was closed, right? And then I got this job. So I was here until 7. I didn't have any places to play, really. And so I took 2 years off and kind of forgot what happens to my foot. And now here I've, trust me, figured it out again. Tex says, at least you can celebrate... at least you can celebrate that it's only Vaseline on your foot and not something far more objectionable. Well, that's true. At least I don't smell like Bengay. At least Vaseline is kind of odorless. So at least I don't smell like Icy Hot or Bengay. But it is the Brady Farkas Show, brought to you by Fecto Homes, WDEV AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Final Four weekend is upon us. One ESPN personality says that college basketball is no longer for the casual fan. Is he right? We'll talk about it next on DEV. The WDEV studio is sponsored by Sticks and Stuff and Swanton Lumber, Vermont's largest independent home center, powered by Marvin Doors and Windows. Go to sticksandstuff.com for store locations and hours.
Hi, it's Ryan from Wendell's. In furniture, selection is important. When it comes to choices for your home, Wendell's offers Vermont's largest showroom for you to explore. And And we always have 70 recliners on the floor to choose from.
Hi, it's Joe from Wendell's. Do you have young kids or pets? Life can get a little messy, right? No problem for our couches and chairs made with cashmere, our most popular performance fabric. My son literally smeared blueberries and it came right off within seconds. Come to Wendell's and we'll demonstrate.
Wendell's is also proud to offer Smith Brothers Furniture, the best-made custom sofa available. Made in the U.S., Smith Brothers is handcrafted with hardwood maple frames, reinforced joints, and the highest quality foam available, and uniquely customized just for you.
So unique, you'll even find your name under the seat cushion, signed by the craftspeople who made it just for you.
So come to Wendell's, where customers become friends, and see why we've earned over 200 five-star reviews.
Come to Wendell's, we make deals. Wendell's Furniture.
Make sure you attend the viewing of George Wooder's new movie, The Farm Boy, Friday night at the Hardwick Townhouse at 6:30 p.m. and Saturday at the Waterbury Brookside School at 6:30 p.m. with a matinee at 2 p.m. on Sunday. This World War II era story is one soldier's journey of leaving his new bride behind and being shipped off to Belgium for the Battle of the Bulge in the cold winter of 1944. So don't miss The Farm Boy, a film by George Wooder, this Friday night at the Hardwick Townhouse, Saturday night and Sunday matinee at the Waterbury Brookside School. See the website at HangingMudFlatProductions.com for more viewings.
WDEV also serves the Northeast Kingdom at 101.9 W270BR Island Pond. Whatever your interest, sports.
It would be monumental if they could come away with 2 wins right
current
now.
Events.
Vermonters are very used to a serious, deliberate budget process.
Weather.
Now, typically, El Niños and La Niñas have generally a weaker effect on
WDEV has a podcast for you. Locally produced podcasts of our own shows and podcasts from our partners at CBS and ESPN. To access the full listing of podcasts, go to our website at WDEVradio.com.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on DEV, brought to you by Fecto Homes. Texter says, it's a good thing. It's surprising you could even catch the ball with all the Vaseline on your hands. That's an accomplishment for an old guy. Thank you very much. Speaking of basketball, I've been thinking a lot this week about what Jay Williams had to say. Remember Jay Williams, who works at ESPN Radio, former Duke point guard, high pick in the draft, career ended because of a tragic motorcycle injury when he was playing with the Chicago Bulls, or maybe it didn't end it directly, but it directly, derailed it. Jay Williams said earlier this week that college basketball is no longer for the casual fan.
You know what the problem is? I don't think college basketball anymore is for the casuals, right? It's for the insider, people that pay attention to it. Like, now you might see some changes next year with Kentucky's team, DJ Wagner and company. There'll be a lot of marketing around individuals like that. But until we start having brand names of players for the casuals that get marketed everywhere and get the way we talked about Zion Williamson, the way we talked about Trae Young, I don't think casuals will pay attention to it as much. But for basketball inside people, I love seeing a team like FAU win more tournament games this year than they have in the history of their program.
So I've been thinking a lot about that. Essentially, Jay Williams is saying that, the Final Four and these teams and, it's San Diego State and FAU, teams that are unexpected, that insiders love this because they kind of know that these teams exist and the rest of us don't. And it's an interesting premise. And here's kind of where I come down on it. I want you to follow me on this. I don't think the college basketball season really matters to the casual fan. The regular season in college basketball, I don't believe it really matters to the casual fan. That said, the NCAA tournament appeals greatly to the casual fan. So I think I would consider myself a casual fan. I love UVM, but outside of UVM, I'm watching 10 games a year probably. I'm not watching that. You won't find me watching Georgia Tech and Wake Forest on a Wednesday. You're not going to find me watching Purdue and Ohio State on a Monday. It's just not going to happen. So I would consider myself a casual fan. The casual fans, have decided the regular season doesn't really matter. And it doesn't really matter probably because almost everybody we would care about gets into the tournament, and the tournament is what we have always cared about. The casual fan loves the tournament, and the casual fan doesn't really see the regular season as valuable because almost everybody gets into the tournament. If you start going around the Power Five conferences, they're getting, between 3 and 8 teams in the tournament every year. So everybody that we would care about is practically there in the thing we're all caring about. So the casual fan loves the tournament. And then as a result, the casual fan loves the appeal of the tournament. What's the appeal of the tournament? The appeal of the tournament is that it's March Madness. We love the underdog. We love the upset. So the casual fan gets all in to these upset specials on day 1 and day 2 of the tournament. We love that. Hey, I didn't watch a game all year, but I came for the madness, man. I came to see the 12 beat the 5. I came to see the 13 beat the 4. I love to see Princeton take out Arizona. The casual fan is like, hey, if I'm going to get invested, I might as well see the chaos. And that's what we're getting. So we love that. Casual fan loves the tournament. Casual fan loves the madness. The problem is that the casual fan also loves their bracket. And then when all those upsets happen and the bracket is done and you're shot and you have no chance at winning money anymore, well, then the casual fan goes away and we are left with only the insider. That's kind of the vicious cycle of this. The casual fan shows up for the tournament and loves it. And then then gets all into watching the 15 seed win. But then when all that happens, what's left is the shell of your bracket that you have no shot of winning. And now you're like, okay, I'm out. I don't know if the casual fan cares if Kentucky wins or Duke wins or North Carolina wins or Kansas wins or Arizona wins or whatever. But those are the teams that we all picked to win the title. So when we don't have a shot, now it's less appealing. That's kind of where I think we're at. And you can disagree with me on that. You can agree with me on that, but get your voice heard. 802-585-3026, because I'd like to hear what you all feel about that. We all show up for the tournament. We all love the madness. But when our bracket is shot, most people are checked out at that point. Like, I think I'm the atypical casual fan. I told you the other day, I love this Final Four. Yeah, my bracket's done, and yeah, I'm not going to win any money. In the family pool, in the office pool, I'm not winning any money. But I love this Final Four because I love stories, and this tournament gives us stories. But I do this for a living. I have to find reasons to find this appealing. You don't. So if you're out there thinking, I don't know, watch Florida Atlantic, I don't know, San Diego State, I've never even heard of these schools. Where exactly is Florida Atlantic? Like, I get it. Okay, I get it. I'm finding appeal to it, but I have to. You don't. And to Jay Williams' point about marketing, I think he's probably right in that. I think for college basketball to appeal to the casual fan, it does need recognizable names. And part of what's wrong is that we don't have recognizable names because why? Transfer portal, we never know where anyone's playing. People leave after a year, go to the NBA. So the guys who would be marketable stars, we can't get behind. And then as a result of the transfer portal, some of these programs we want to be good or expect to be good haven't been that good. Kentucky's not very good right now. North Carolina was bad this year. So I think it's a complex conversation. But I do believe the tournament appeals to everybody. But when the wreckage of the tournament kind of subsides and all that's left is what we have now, I think a lot of people do kind of check out. Texter says, college basketball, especially the tournament, is so geared for the casual fan. I can see how the perceived fatigue from a lengthy regular season might not attract casual fans, but the big dance is probably the most ideal event for casual fans outside of the Super Bowl. Now, that's what I think, right? That's what I think. That's kind of what I just said, right? But I think that when your bracket is shot, a lot of people check out. I don't think that we need Kansas, Duke, Florida in the tournament or in the Final Four. But when those programs are there, more brackets are involved. More people are not out of it. Texter says, I'm a casual fan. I follow UVM. I also like Boston College. Some of the top teams and matchups, I continue to watch the tournament games to the end. Perhaps I'm a little more than a casual fan. I do watch key matchups during the season. It's a good topic. Thank you. There are too many one-and-dones. I would agree. I think there's probably less one-and-dones than we think there are. In fact, I know there's less one-and-dones than we think there are. There's only 60 picks in the NBA draft, and they're not all one-and-dones. So most people are not one-and-done. But what's an issue is that the top players, the players you would follow, those are the one-and-dones, right? The Zions, the Paolo Bancheros from a year ago. I would think, now Jess is a Kansas fan, and she really does like Kansas. She is a diehard. I watched probably 10 Kansas games this year with her, or just to kind of have another thing to talk about with her. I watched Duke UNC, handful of Big Ten games. I did the conference tournament. I probably watched pre-tournament. I probably watched 20 college basketball games. That's it. It's not a lot. But I do love the tournament. I watched every game that I can in the tournament. The tournament is geared for the casual fan. But again, when the wreckage subsides, you just don't have much left. Texter wants to go back to my foot. This is Middlebury, Glenn in Middlebury. Have you tried Fleet Feet? There's one in Essex. Yes, I bought, I actually have been to that Fleet Feet. I bought special socks from there, and they do help, but they don't help completely. Like if I just wore cotton socks, my feet would be bleeding. The fact that I'm wearing these socks is what allows me to get to the point that I'm currently at. I mean, it's like to the point where, again, like you get calluses, and then just you can imagine where that goes. You know what it's like to have had a callus that then gets hard, that then you can either run on, which hurts, you can pick apart, which hurts and leaves vulnerable, exposed skin. None of it's good. And then we end up with what I have now, which is rubbing Vaseline all over my feet like I'm 107 years old. I will say I'm also excited for the women's Final Four today. If you're not inclined, or if you haven't been watching women's college basketball, and I haven't watched a lot of this tournament either, so I'm not going to be holier than thou and sit down on my high horse. I have not watched a ton of the women's tournament. I've watched what we've had on at work, which has been great. There have been a lot of games in the middle of the day, especially early in the tournament. The Elite Eight was on at work. I watched a ton there. But the Final Four tonight, I'm excited for. What LSU and LSU is playing, and then tonight's the late game is the big one, Iowa and South Carolina. South Carolina's 36-0. They're 36-0. And then Iowa's got the player of the year in Caitlin Clark. So I'm going to find time to watch college hoops tonight on the women's side in addition to the men's side tomorrow. I'm curious, are any of you not going to watch the Final Four? Because I had somebody I trust and respect tell me I have no interest. I am boycotting FAU and San Diego State. Basically, I don't want to watch those two schools be there because they don't deserve it. Like, I mean, I'm going to watch. I didn't know if anyone else is feeling that way. Peter in Williston says, haven't watched the women's tourney, but have been paying attention for years. Hope Iowa gives South Carolina a battle. They should. I mean, they do have the best player in the country. But again, Dawn Staley has built a juggernaut at South Carolina. Weird to see UConn not in the Final Four. Remember, they beat UVM at the beginning of the tournament. It seems like weeks ago, months ago, that UVM was in the women's tournament. But really, it was only 2 weeks ago. Hard to believe. So good stuff there. It is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Rumor has it that a Patriots coach is impacting the Patriots' ability to go out and get a star player. Think about that. You heard that, right? The rumor is there that a Patriots coach is the reason the Patriots can't go get a star player. But you know what? I don't care. It doesn't bother me. I'll tell you what the story is. The coach and the player next on DEV.
This is WDEV, Vermont's news station, owned and operated by the Radio Vermont Group. From the top of Sugarbush, 96.1 FM, WDEV Warren and Waitsfield, 96.5 W243 Barrie, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, along with our founding station, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury Montpelier, streaming at WDEVradio.com. 91 years of serving Vermont, the friendly pioneer, WDEV.
This is CBS News on the Hour, presented by Indeed.com.
I'm Monica Ricks in New York. A state of emergency in Arkansas right now as hail and dangerous tornadoes take aim at Little Rock, causing widespread damage and injuries. This man lives there and says he panicked when he heard what sounded like a freight train.
Went in the bathroom, closed the door, and then all of a sudden it was just like so much wind everywhere. It felt like kind of like the house was shaking and things were kind of like being thrown against it. And it was just something I never experienced before.
Tornado watches are also in effect all over the South and Midwest, from northern Iowa down to Louisiana. Western Kentucky is also bracing for a hard hit. Governor Andy Beshear.
You should expect violent thunderstorms followed by significant winds with wind gusts up to 55 miles an hour.
President Biden wasn't too far today in Mississippi, where he spent hours surveying tornado damage. He was in Rolling Fork, where an EF4 tornado ripped up entire neighborhoods last week for about 100 miles.
I'm determined that we're going to leave nothing behind. We're going to get it done for you. That's why I'm here, why your Congress here, why the governor's here. We're focused on making sure you got the place to sleep, food to eat, helping you rebuild your lives.
About 24 people died in those storms. Former President Trump will be arraigned on Tuesday following his grand jury indictment in New York. CBS's Robert Costa has the latest.
Sources tell CBS News former President Donald Trump could face more than 30 counts when he appears in Manhattan criminal court for an arraignment next Tuesday, with sweeping scrutiny of alleged hush money payments to an adult film star and other financial schemes from the 2016 campaign. Trump's lawyers say he would not accept a plea deal and has done nothing wrong.
His exact charges are still under seal. American Paul Whelan, who's been detained for years on espionage charges in Russia, has reportedly now been moved to a prison hospital. His family says he hasn't been in contact with them for about a week, and they're concerned about his health. The news comes a day after a Wall Street Journal reporter was arrested in Russia on similar charges. A salmonella outbreak's making bakers sick in several states. Here's CBS's Christopher Cruz.
Most of those who got sick had eaten raw dough or batter made with flour. Keith Schneider is a professor of food science at the University of Florida's Emerging Pathogens Institute in Gainesville.
Practice good safety techniques in the kitchen. Don't eat raw or uncooked products, and they should be good to go.
He tells CBS News that flour makers are making changes because of these kinds of infections.
There are certain brands that are making pasteurized or heat-treated flours now because of some recent outbreaks over the last several years.
Keep in mind, flour's not safe till it's cooked or baked, so wash everything. This is CBS News.
Streamline how you hire with Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in the same place. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. The IRS just rolled out a new program to help struggling taxpayers more easily resolve their tax problems. It's called the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, and it opens up powerful new options for people looking to get back on the right track with the IRS. And no one knows this program like the professionals at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution company. They've resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients and have the expertise and experience to help you. One easy call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries of wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Make today the beginning of your fresh start with the IRS. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief now for your free confidential consultation.
Call 800-783-8055. That's 800-783-8055. 800-783-8055.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
California plans to start phasing out diesel truck sales next year.
By the year 2045, California can hit the brakes on big rigs. The EPA is giving the state the power to ban heavy trucks that run on diesel fuel. Governor Gavin Newsom says the goal is to curb greenhouse gases.
40% of our greenhouse gas emissions in the state of California come from tailpipe emissions.
But trucking advocates are worried about the mandate. Matt Schrapp with the Harbor Trucking Association says all electric trucks have limited range and there aren't currently enough charging stations.
There is nowhere to fuel this equipment, and that really becomes the main concern.
Matt Bigler for CBS News, San Francisco.
A co-defendant in the case against actor Alec Baldwin for the fatal shooting of a cinematographer has now been sentenced to 6 months probation. Assistant Director David Halls was convicted today of unsafe handling of a firearm. He's got fines and has to complete a gun safety course. Baldwin's pleaded not guilty. Monica Ricks, CBS News.
Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Texter wants to know, is Matt Patricia the one who is causing the Patriots trouble? No, this one's Bill O'Brien. So this report came out the other day from Dan Graziano of ESPN. Said the Patriots cannot trade for wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. Why? Because Hopkins and Bill O'Brien have beef, or at least Hopkins has beef with Bill O'Brien from their time in Houston. Graziano says, and I quote, "It sounds like the history between Hopkins and Bill O'Brien is an impediment to his landing in New England." Okay, so Bill O'Brien apparently is the reason why the Patriots cannot trade for DeAndre Hopkins. You know what? Surprisingly, maybe even surprising to myself, I don't care. This story means absolutely nothing to me. And usually I'd probably be one of the first to jump all over the coaching staff and how could Belichick hire a guy that players hate and man, they need a number one and this is going to cost them a number one. Not this time. I don't care. This story means absolutely nothing to me. I've said a zillion times the Patriots need a number one. I'd love for them to have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins or DeAndre Hopkins himself, but I will live. This doesn't matter to me. This doesn't matter to me. The biggest thing the Patriots need to do, the most important thing the Patriots need to do is make life better and easier for Mac Jones. That is the number one thing on the offseason agenda. Getting DeAndre Hopkins would do that, but I'd rather have a competent offensive coordinator, a competent play caller, and a guy that he gets along with than DeAndre Hopkins. Now, I had doubts about Bill O'Brien. Everybody else has told me how great Bill O'Brien will be and how much they believe in him. So I've got to run with that. Having a good coaching system around Mac Jones is more important than having DeAndre Hopkins. We saw last year how bad the coaching staff was offensively and how it impacted Mac Jones, and we can't have that. So we need a guy that Mac Jones trusts, that will get the best out of him and knows what he's doing. And that apparently is Bill O'Brien. I need to trust that. And therefore, I'm going to be happier to have him than the idea of DeAndre Hopkins. There are other number one receiver options out there. It's that simple. If you think that Bill O'Brien is the best coach for Mac Jones, then go get him the best coach, which you've done. There are other excellent receivers that can still be had. Look, DeAndre Hopkins is great. He's 30 years old. He's about to be 31. He's not 21, right? He's 31 years old. He's had some injuries. He's got a suspension for PEDs on his resume. I can handle not having him. Jerry Jeudy is still out there. You still have the number 14 pick in the draft. There will be another disgruntled wide receiver, I'm sure, around the draft or in the summer. I will live. Right? The Patriots do need to make a move at wide receiver. They do. But there are other guys out there not named DeAndre Hopkins. And I'll be fine if they have Bill O'Brien and he's the real deal, and they get one of those guys and they end up not having Hopkins. Tex says, that's hilarious about Bill O'Brien. Got to forgive and forget. Hopkins isn't the same guy he was a few years ago because of his recent injury history either. Exactly. He's still very good. I'd still rather have him on the team than going to play in Buffalo. That's very true. If he ends up with the Bills, I'll be disappointed. But it's not like I'm thinking, the Patriots got to get rid of Bill O'Brien just so they can go get DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not doing that. Mac Jones needs the best coaching staff and system in place for himself as possible. And if Bill O'Brien is it, then I will choose him over a 31-year-old about to be receiver with injury concerns and a PED suspension on his recent resume. I just will. Patriots need a lot of help. Coaching staff is where I think it's got to start here. Continuing on the Patriots. Did you hear what I played this in the afternoon news service? Did you hear what Jason Fitz had to say his thoughts on the Patriots and on Bill Belichick were?
Top to bottom, I think they have the worst roster in their division. Top to bottom, I think they have the worst quarterback room in their division. Presuming Aaron Rodgers ends up a Jet in this conversation. What do you do to fix that? Even if you have the best coach. I'm trying to say this gently because it'll be perceived the wrong way and people get my mentions. But you really think that he'll swallow his pride and do that? Like, because coaches have as much pride as players do. You think Belichick's going to look in the mirror and say, man, what I really need is a superstar quarterback? I feel like he's going to try and continue to be like, how like when we were little, our dads all had superhuman strength. And even if you were there to help them, they would try and lift a baby grand piano and take it up the stairs themselves. Feels like that's what Belichick's trying to do with this entire roster.
Okay. 802-585-3026. So Jason Fitz says he believes that Bill Belichick won't go after Lamar Jackson because his ego is in the way. He won't admit he needs a star quarterback. He wants to prove that he can do it without one. I don't believe that's entirely true. I think ego is a little bit a part of this whole thing, but I don't believe it's the biggest part of it. Jason Fitz says ego is the entirety of this. I think it's a small piece, but it is not the entirety. And what I think it is mirrors what I've been saying for the last few days. Bill Belichick believes that the cost of the modern day quarterback is too high. I believe that Bill Belichick's philosophy and his belief in every fiber of his being from 40 years of coaching and 60 plus years of watching football, I think every fiber of his being tells him that in football, you need a full team, a complementary team. And if you have one player making 20% of your payroll, that's not the way to build a roster. That's what I believe Bill Belichick thinks. I don't think it's entirely arrogance or ego. I don't think it's like, hey, look, I can do more with less. I think it is stubbornness. I think it is an outdated philosophy. Bill Belichick looks at this and says, I don't believe that football rosters are best constructed when you have quarterbacks making that much money. Now, I have said for a long time that I believe there's two ways for you to win in this league. Rookie quarterback contract or Hall of Famer. And generally the in-between is not where you want to be. But Lamar Jackson is a guy that, especially on a shorter term deal, I would give high money to. I would give him good money if it's not all guaranteed. I also don't want to give him all guaranteed money. I do believe that Kirk Cousins is not good enough to warrant his contract. That Jimmy Garoppolo or that Jared Goff was not good enough in LA to warrant his contract. I believe that. I've said that stuff many, many times. But I don't think that Bill Belichick is looking at this like, whoa, I'm going to purposely give us a bad situation here just so I can prove what I can do with it. That's what Jason Fitz is saying. I think he's just looking at this like, I can't bring myself to pay that much for a quarterback because I've got 60 years of evidence telling me that that's not the thing to do. The only bit of arrogance that I think comes into this is that I don't believe that Bill Belichick wants to admit that he was wrong about Mac Jones. That's where I think the arrogance comes in. I think a lot of you would agree with me there. Bill Belichick does not want to admit that he chose the wrong guy to be the next Tom Brady. He doesn't want to go to Robert Kraft with his tail between his legs and say, hey, the guy that I picked isn't good enough. He doesn't want to go and admit that his best friend Nick Saban gave him a guy that's not good enough. That's where I think the ego comes in and the pride comes in. That Bill wants to do everything he can to make Mac work, because if Mac doesn't work, then it's a failure on Bill's part. That's where I think the ego comes in. And sometimes you just got to either cut your losses or recognize that there's something better out there. And that's where I'm at. Mac Jones is not a cut your losses guy. As much as I don't think he's special, he's not Paxton Lynch. He's not Christian Hackenberg. He's not, he's not Christian Ponder. He's not those guys. He's better than those guys. Mac Jones is a starting quarterback. He's just not a starting quarterback for my New England Patriots who I want to win the Super Bowl. And that there's a difference there. But he doesn't want, Bill Belichick doesn't want to look and say that this guy's not special enough and that I chose him. He doesn't want to do that. Bill Belichick is already forced to swallow his pride and admit that his coaching situation a year ago wasn't good enough, right? Robert Kraft has already put him under the gun and saying, hey, we had to make changes. Robert Kraft said we needed to make changes. Let's see. I think we've got that still. It was from like Tuesday. Yeah, here.
Well, I was very disappointed the way our season went. And I thought last year, we've gone 3 years without it. And I thought we had been in a position to do it. And the season, we finished under 500, which is first time in a long time. And so I thought changes had to be made. And I think we've made some moves and changes that I think give me personally some hope for the upcoming season.
So Bill Belichick has already had to swallow his pride and have his owner tell him changes need to be made. Bill Belichick has already had to look and say, I didn't do a good enough job for our football team last year at building a staff. Now I don't think he wants to go out and say, I picked the wrong quarterback too. That I believe. That's where the ego comes in. As I've said forever, Mac Jones is an average player, a little bit above. He needs star players around him. The Patriots haven't given him star players. If you don't want to give star players, then you better have a star quarterback. The Patriots don't have that either. And that's why they are where they are. I think they are a middle-of-the-road team. Bill O'Brien might be great. Bill Belichick might be great, but there's not enough special on this roster. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line 802-585-3026. Why are people trashing the Patriots roster? I thought we all agreed the defense is top 5 and played like it last year. It's the offense that needed help, and enter Bill O'Brien to create a better scheme, which I believe he will. See, I disagree with that. Like I am with it. I do believe the offense will be better by nature of having Bill O'Brien. Mike Gesicki, hopefully they can find a way to use him better than Jonnu Smith. Juju Smith-Schuster, I don't know that he's really an upgrade on Jacoby Myers. Maybe lukewarm. You lose Damian Harris. Right now, the talent personnel is very similar to last year. Bill O'Brien takes it above. So the offense gets a little bit better. The defense, when you say, I thought we all agreed the defense is top 5, I don't agree with that. At least not entering 2023. And the reason why is because look at what the Patriots did last year defensively. The Patriots scored a bunch of defensive touchdowns. That's not repeatable. right? At least I wouldn't think it's transferable from year to year. We know how volatile defenses are, right? Who'd you play that had an injured quarterback? They played Zach Wilson twice. Now they're going to play Aaron Rodgers twice. Who'd you play last year that was missing this guy or that offensive lineman? The schedule's different. Now you got different amount of home games and road games. It's a different situation now, and you can't count on what went well for you last year going well for you this year. I do believe that Matthew Judon is good. So I think the Patriots will have a pass rush this year with Judon. But Devin McCourty's gone. That's different. That's not as good. And then you look at the fact that, by the way, like I said, all these touchdowns they scored that you can't count on, that you can't bank on, that you can't repeat. I mean, look, they played Sam Ehlinger last year. They played Zach Wilson twice. They played Jacoby Brissett. We're at basically 4 backup caliber quarterbacks right there. They saw Detroit when they were missing almost everybody on their team, and they ended up killing them. But again, the Lions are playing with one hand tied behind their back that game. Patriots lost to Cincy. Patriots lost to Minnesota. Patriots lost to Buffalo twice. Like right there, you got 4 games against playoff teams. You lost them all. Trying to think who else. They lost to Vegas, who didn't make the playoffs. Patriots, look. Can we count on Marcus Jones to get another punt return touchdown win? Probably not. Walk-off punt return victory. Can we count on Marcus Jones had a pick 6 against the Bengals? Can we count on Kyle Duggar having multiple pick 6s? No, we can't. We can't count on any of that stuff. How many touchdowns and points get taken off the board? So the defense, is it as good as last year? I don't know, because the defense put up historic point totals last season. All right, let's move off the Patriots. We'll get back to them at the end of the show. But let's get quickly to let's get to who's saying what, because I wanted to mention this.
Whoa. What did he say?
What is he doing? He's stealing money. What the hell is he doing? He should have gotten his surgery. They were out of it in August. Why did they get the surgery done in August? They could have played beginning of the year.
Preacher.
That's a joke with him.
They really said that?
Every damn thing is politics and race, and I'm losing my mind over it.
It's time for Who's Saying What on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Who's Saying What here on the Brady Farkas Show? Brought to you by Fecto Homes, WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Celtics rolled over the Bucks yesterday, 140-99. A 41-point victory for the Celtics in Milwaukee. As a result, they're now just 2 games behind the Bucks with 5 to go here for the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference playoff race. Al Horford was asked if yesterday the Celtics sent a message.
It's not about sending messages. I just think it's for us to do what we have to do, handle our business, and we knew that it was going to be a big challenge to come in here, and I was just happy how we responded as a group.
Al Horford says it's not about sending a message. I got news for you. You might not have intended to send a message, but last night you sent a message. And I don't even care about the message to Milwaukee. That doesn't matter to me at all. You sent a message to yourself, and as a result, I think that is huge. Again, I'm sure Al's right. They did not go into that game thinking, hey, let's send a message to these guys. But they sent a message last night to themselves, and that is very, very important. Okay, that is very, very important. You sent a message to yourself that, one, you can play with and beat the best, right? The Bucks are the number 1 seed right now in the Eastern Conference. You proved that you can beat them and you can smoke them. You prove that you can go on the road and win. You prove that you can, when you focus up and when you are healthy, that you can beat anybody. Right? Celtics just lost to the Wizards. For the last 3 weeks, we've been talking about these up and down performances. The Celtics proved that when the game is on the line, when the game matters, and when the opponent is higher and they're locked in, that they can beat anybody. That is what matters. Al, you might not have intended to send a message, but you did send one. Texter says, Celtics handled their own against the Bucks. It was a message to the league. I'm sure it was a message to the league, but I just care about the message the Celtics sent themselves. The Celtics hit 22 threes last night. Jason Tatum had 10. Remember, Tatum proved that he could. He had the great. Didn't he have the great game 7 against the Bucks last year? No, it was a great game 6 that sent it back to Boston, I think. So he has shown again, I can go on the road. I can deliver a superstar performance. My teammates can do the same. Jaylen Brown had 30. We can shoot it well. We can beat their defense. We can get to the line. Celtics had 47 rebounds. They out-rebounded Milwaukee. They out-assisted Milwaukee. They had less turnovers than Milwaukee. They showed that they can go on the road in their place and beat them, and that is a message to themselves. If I'm the Celtics, I'm taking away like, whoa, we just showed what we are capable of. All right, I got an angry text from Phil in Middlesex today about the Red Sox. I'm going to try to calm him down, and I'll talk with you more about the Sox heading into the weekend.
I'm Melissa Bounty, Executive Director of Central Vermont Economic Development Corporation. Join me, Higher Ability, and the Vermont Department of Labor at the 14th Annual Central Vermont Job Fair, Wednesday, April 5th from 12 to 7 p.m. at the Berry Auditorium. Our new extended hours are for job seekers looking to make a career change. Interview on the spot with Community National Bank, National Life Group, Northfield Savings Bank, and other regional employers like Central Vermont Medical Center and Cabot Creamery. That's April 5th, 12 to 7 p.m. at the Berry Auditorium.
Hi, it's Joe from Wendell's Furniture. Let's make your home more comfortable with FlexSteel. Have you ever noticed that poorly made furniture can be pretty uncomfortable? A lot of couches and recliners look the same, but what's on the inside really matters. Our FlexSteel furniture at Wendell's is both durable and comfortable. You can actually see and feel their patented blue steel support system. FlexSteel makes any home look great, and each piece is backed up with a lifetime warranty on the frame. Discover FlexSteel at Wendell's in Colchester and at wendellsfurniture.com.
Wendell's Furniture. We are proud to be the exclusive distributors of Gold Bond mattresses. Hey, it's Ryan from Wendell's Furniture. Gold Bond is a 120-year-old family-run business from New England that just refuses to cut costs on materials. Gold Bond sources all bedding material from the U.S., American steel, American foam, and American cotton. There's just more good stuff inside a Gold Bond mattress. Their twin size weighs more than most competitors' queen size. Come see for yourself at Wendell's Furniture in Colchester and check out our great Google reviews at wendellsfurniture.com.
Responsible Vermont gun owners do more than use their guns safely. They store them safely. Because a gun that ends up in the wrong hands can have devastating results. Store your gun unloaded, locked, and away from ammunition. And if you or someone you love is facing a moment of crisis, store your gun safely outside of your home. Keep your gun safe. Keep your people safe. Find temporary safe storage sites and more information online at gunsafevt.org. That's gunsafevt.org. Sponsored by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Vermont, UVM Medical Center, ATF, the Vermont State Police, the Vermont Sheriff's Association, the Vermont Attorney General's Office, the Vermont Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Vermont Department of Health, and Vermont's Office of the Director of Violence Prevention. gunsafevt.org. That's gunsafevt.org. Keep your guns safe. Keep your people safe.
Rise and shine with WDEV Sunday mornings. Begin the day at 6 with Joel Nasman and 2 hours of classical music, followed by the Takeout with Major Gary. A casual discussion of politics, policy, and pop culture. Then it's Jane Pauley and CBS Sunday Morning with stories about the arts, music, nature, and entertainment. The morning concludes with Sunday Morning Swing Time, an hour of swing tunes. Join us Sunday mornings on WDEV AM and FM and streaming at WDEVradio.com.
Transitioning from being a Marine to a civilian was very hard. I lost my purpose. I lost the drive that I had. That is a very dark and lonely place to be. It took me surrendering to myself to get the help that I needed. At my very first Wounded Warrior Project event, I met Ray Pizarro. He told me you need to have the courage to forgive yourself for the things you've done in the past. I got it tattooed on my hand. One night, my depression kept telling me that you can end this. And just before I was about to pull the trigger, I looked down at my hand, and that's what saved my life that night. That was the beginning of my incredible journey with the Wounded Warrior Project.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in. Brady Farkas Show brought to you by Fecto Homes, WDEV AM and FM, WDEVradio.com. Reminder, full show podcast available after the show on the podcast channel, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and at WDEVradio.com. Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next. I got an angry text this morning on the text line from Phil in Middlesex, who, let me grab this. It was on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. It was from 8:30 this morning. Says, hi, Brady. So much for the Sox improved bullpen. 9 walks yesterday. Yikes. That's from Phil in Middlesex. A couple of points here, Phil. Let me address the actual text itself. First off, the bullpen only had 5 walks, right? So the pitching staff had 9 walks, 4 of which were by a very questionable starter in Corey Kluber. So don't blame all 9 walks on the bullpen. The bullpen wasn't very good, but they didn't walk 9 guys. They only walked 5. And then the guys who largely stunk yesterday for the Red Sox were Zach Kelly, Ryan Brazier, and Caleb Ort. That's 3 guys in that bullpen that probably shouldn't and may not be here soon. So I'm not going to waste a lot of energy complaining about guys who aren't supposed to be here and probably won't be here in the near future, right? Oh, so much for the Sox improved bullpen. I promise you, when Chaim Bloom was building the Red Sox ideal bullpen, it didn't include all 3 of those guys. Maybe one of them, but not all 3. Garrett Whitlock is supposed to be on this team. James Paxton is supposed to be on this team. Brian Bayo is supposed to be on this team. Jolie Rodriguez is supposed to be on this team. All of them are injured. None of them are here. That's 4 guys that have probably opened up. They're not being here has opened up spots for each of those 3 to be on the opening day roster. Whitlock pitched today at AAA. He's supposed to be back in 10 days. I saw April 11th as a projection for him to make his first start with the Red Sox. Bayo's supposed to be back a week after him. Paxton a week after him. The goal is that by the end of April, all of those guys are back, and that in the meantime, when one of them comes back, one of those guys we saw yesterday can get bumped down, right? This team was supposed to be different. Jolie Rodriguez was supposed to be here. If he is, maybe we don't see Ort. If Whitlock is here, Houck's in the bullpen, and then we don't see Brazier. Like, if all these guys come back and all those guys from yesterday are still on the team, then we'll have a problem. And then I'll complain about Chaim Bloom. But by and large, I'm not going to go slamming the bullpen on day one when we're not seeing the bullpen we were supposed to see. Last year, on opening day, when they refused to give the ball to Matt Barnes, that was a worrisome spot for the bullpen. I'm annoyed the Red Sox lost. I'm not going to go and crush guys that don't belong here in the first place. The rebuilt bullpen was built with Kenley Jansen in mind. It was built with Chris Martin pitching not in, hey, we're down 10-7 or whatever in mind. It was built with Jolie Rodriguez being here, with Houck being there, maybe Paxton being in there depending. None of those guys are there right now. None of those guys are there right now. So I'm not going to go and, again, the Sox too, remember, we think they're a 4th or a 5th place team. That's what happens to 4th or 5th place teams. You have some back end of the pen guys that aren't very good. You don't have depth to cover when guys that are good are gone, and you end up having things like yesterday happen. I'm with Alex Cora. If they score 9 runs enough, they're going to be in and win a lot of games. But the pitching is the trouble spot for this team, and we saw it yesterday, and we saw why. That said, on pitching, by the way, Sox are off today, obviously. They're taking on the Orioles tomorrow at Fenway. We don't know if that game's going to get played because there are weather issues coming in everywhere in the region tomorrow. But if the Red Sox play, Chris Sale is supposed to make that first start of the year. Now, I don't know if they'll push him back because of weather. I don't know. But Chris Sale is supposed to make his first start of the year. And it goes without saying to me that Chris Sale is by far the most important starter to this roster. We've said for months, this is not an original thought. I've been saying this for months, that the Red Sox success or failure hinders on the success and the health of their starting pitching. And no one is more key to that than Chris Sale. Now, that's a lot of pressure on Chris Sale. It's not fair given where Chris Sale has been for the last 3 years, but it is just a reality. It is just a reality. The pressure is on Chris Sale. If he is good, the upside on this rotation is drastically different. If he is bad or injured, then the worst case scenario becomes a real possibility for this team. No one on this Red Sox staff has more upside than Sale. He has the chance to be the best starter on this team. That's his ceiling. Best starter on this team. But if he's the guy from the last 3 years who makes a limited number of starts and gets hurt, then again, the whole rotation's outlook changes. I'm excited to see where he's at. And I'm rooting for Chris Sale. I don't think it's fun to pile on Chris Sale anymore. Look, I get it. He's made a bunch of money, and he deserves to be criticized for having that contract and not living up to it. I understand if that's where you want to go with it, but I'm tired of going there. I don't want to make guys a punching bag for their entire career. Chris Sale helped the Red Sox win a World Series. I will be forever grateful to him for that. You should as well. I do not think it's cool or fun to go after him anymore and talk about, oh, he's stealing money and oh, he's always hurt and what's wrong with him this time. I'm just rooting for him now. As somebody who I know how hard it is to pitch, not at that level, obviously, but as somebody who has had what they love taken from them now for the last 3 years, I'm rooting for him to get it back. We all love a comeback story. And yeah, he's got a lot of money, and money can cover up a lot of other unhappinesses, but at the end of the day, what he loves, he hasn't done for 3 years. I'm rooting for him to have success, and I will look forward to seeing what he's like on the mound whenever that is, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's Sunday, whatever. What's his velocity like? Is he 92, 93? Is he 96, 97? What's his changeup like? Alex Cora said, hey, the changeup was the biggest thing that he lost as a result of Tommy John surgery. When he came back in 2021, he didn't really have it. What's the changeup look like? He had a great first start of the spring. He got hammered the last time out against Baltimore, which who's going to see tomorrow? I'll be interested in seeing how Chris Sale does here because they need him. The pressure on him isn't fair. I don't want him to have to be the end-all, be-all for this team, but if they're going to be good, he's going to have to be good as well. For what it's worth, good old Bill Lee thinks the Red Sox will be strong this year. That's long from Eden, who says, I did not hear Bill Lee say that. I wasn't watching Savannah Bananas highlights or anything. Is that where he said that? Red Sox have the potential, as I've said all along, have the potential to be better than we've thought. Better than we've thought, though, is like better than 78 wins. I think the Red Sox are between 75 and 85 wins. If everything goes well, I think they can win 85 games. And that means Sale staying healthy and Bello being good and Kluber being healthy and good and the bullpen being better than we thought and getting contributions from Kike and Arroyo staying healthy and Devers being great and Casas and Yoshida. Like, there's a lot of ifs for this team. The Houston Astros, I believe, are going to be great no matter what. And that's the difference. Look, Houston Astros don't have Jose Altuve for 2 months. Okay. They're still going to win the AL West. The Astros lost on opening day yesterday. Ryan Presley blew it in the 9th inning. No big deal. There are not a lot of ifs with the Astros. There's a lot of ifs with the Red Sox. One thing elsewhere on the Red Sox is a lot of Red Sox fans, I think, are a little bit delusional and grasping at straws right now. I looked on the internet last night and I saw a couple of different things that said something similar to this. Red Sox ownership loves Ohtani. Are they gearing up to make a run? And I'm like, Red Sox ownership loves Ohtani. What happened? Well, Tom Werner, one of the Red Sox partners and owners, was on WEEI yesterday before the game and was talking about Ohtani.
Well, I don't want to be quoted about he's the greatest player in baseball in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. And, you know, whatever compensation he receives is going to be worth it because he's just such a dynamic presence, obviously, as a pitcher, as a hitter. And, you know, will he set the market? I'm sure he'll get more than any other player, but he deserves a lot of money because he's a global star.
That seems to be a pretty benign comment and a pretty, yeah, duh comment. How does that comment equal the Red Sox are going after Ohtani? Every ownership group in baseball would say just that. Every ownership group in baseball would say that exact same thing. Yeah, he's special. Yeah, he's a global superstar. Yeah, he deserves a lot of money. Nothing that Tom Werner just said leads me to believe that the Red Sox are knocking at the door for Shohei. That the Red Sox are pinching pennies now to go get Shohei later. Absolutely none of that translates to we're in the Ohtani sweepstakes. But now that we're talking about it, let me just say this. The Red Sox better be in the Ohtani sweepstakes because all the big dogs are bringing their duffel bags to the Ohtani meeting. The Dodgers are doing it. The Angels will do it. The Yankees will do it. The Mets will do it. You better be in the Ohtani sweepstakes. I don't know if they're going to get him because I don't know if Ohtani wants to play here, if Ohtani wants to leave the West Coast, if Ohtani wants to play where it's cold. I have no idea. But you better be in the meeting. So when we talk about that quote from Tom Werner means absolutely nothing to me. But what does mean something to me now is you better be there. And by the way, the Red Sox better treat Masataka Yoshida like gold because if Yoshida has a good time in Boston, at least we know that they're teammates and friends. They just played together at the World Baseball Classic. If Yoshida has a good experience in Boston, then maybe Shohei will give them Red Sox a listen. But you also better back up the Brinks truck and pack your little duffel bag full of hundreds because you got to be in this meeting. But Tom Werner's quote doesn't lead me to believe they're close. They're going to get him. I mean, come on, Red Sox fans, are you that desperate? You're grasping at generic comments from the ownership group? Every owner in the sport would say just that. He's special. He deserves a lot of money. He's going to get a lot of money. I could insert that quote to every single owner in the sport. Every single owner in the sport. You were reaching. Everybody I saw on the internet yesterday was reaching. It's the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. We are up until 7 o'clock, and then it's Jazz with George Thomas. I've never heard so many people talking about the Patriots in this way. I'll tell you what that is next here on DEV.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Attention bargain hunters, price drop on items on the WDEV Trading Post online marketplace. Right now, a compound miter saw, retail value over $700, is just $350. A new chair and a half, now just $350. And a patio heater, now just $150. These items are brand new and priced well below retail. Check out these offers as well as deals at Shakedown Street Barbecue and Grill and the Swimming Hole. Go to WDEVradio.com and click on the tab for the Trading Post online marketplace.
Hi, folks. Dan and Pat Keene here from Lamoille Valley Chevy. About 20 years ago, we realized our dream of becoming an auto dealer. That's right, bro. And thanks to an incredible team of dedicated employees over 3 dealerships, we are proud to say our dealerships are some of the best in New England. With that said, the car, truck, and SUV challenge is now on at Lamoille Valley Chevy. Through April 30th, we have challenged our teams to make deals and reach 400 new vehicles delivered. Folks, right now at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we have the best selection of new Chevys on the lot in over 3 years, and we are making deals. And how about this? During the challenge, you can purchase or lease any new car or SUV in stock at Lamoille Valley Chevy, and it will include a $500 gas card. Even better, Lamoille Valley Chevy will double your gas card to $1,000 on any new Silverado in stock. That's huge. You heard, Pat. Get a great deal and a $1,000 gas card during the 20th annual Car, Truck, and SUV Challenge going on now at Lamoille Valley Chevy, located just past Stowe and Morrisville in the beautiful town of Hyde Park, Vermont.
Local businesses advertise with WDEV because they get results. Brian Bittner of Bittner Antiques shares his experience advertising with WDEV.
We've done a number of recorded ads with WDEV, which have a great response. And we've also been doing live radio call-ins once a week for the past few years. And the response at that has just been amazing.
Interested in advertising on WDEV? Contact us at WDEV@radiovermont.com.
All right, the button I want to press won't press. Let's see if it presses now. There we go.
To hear your opinion on the sports stories of the day? Text in at 802-585-3026.
Let's see if this one presses right.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. I want to play a couple of cuts for you. Things I've never heard talked about with the New England Patriots. I just want to play a couple of things for you here, and then we'll talk about it all together. Here's Dan Orlovsky of ESPN, former NFL quarterback, now a great NFL analyst, talking about the state of the Patriots.
If New England doesn't make the playoffs this year, it is going to get outrageously noisy in New England. I'm from New England. I live there. All of my friends are Patriots fans. Mm-hmm. While they're thankful for the past, they don't care about it anymore. They don't care. You better go to the playoffs. They'll get loud. It'll get noisy. And now I think New England will be very much so improved because of Bill O'Brien. But if this team doesn't go to the playoffs, it is going to get extremely uncomfortable in New England when it comes to their fan base.
So that's Dan Orlovsky talking about how uncomfortable it will get in New England if things don't improve. This is Harry Douglas, former NFL wide receiver.
With Mac Jones on your roster, from the quarterback perspective in the quarterback position, you're fourth in that division right now. Now, you already don't have the most talented roster, but let me give you a broader spectrum. Is Mac Jones going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes?
No.
Is Mac Jones going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Joe Burrow?
And then finally, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN talking about the idea of Bill Belichick being on the hot seat.
If that repeats itself for another year, I think based on Robert Kraft's comments that he wants a winner again. It's becoming, pretty clear that eventually they have to feel like they turn the page. And right now it's not there. And I don't know, based on where the roster is at, that they're certainly insured to make the playoffs, right? It might be a fringe team. I think they'll be pretty good. Mac Jones with new offensive coordinator Bill O'Brien can go a long way. But if they're 8-9 again, or right there on the cusp, like what does Robert Kraft do? That's 4 years now of essentially underachieving football.
So that was 3 clips right there. Harry Douglas rips the roster. Dan Orlovsky and Jeremy Fowler say, we think the team will be better, but if they're not, something drastic could happen. And I play you all that just to bring you this point. I have never heard the New England Patriots talked about like that. I have never had people, so many of them universally, paint a picture of the New England Patriots like that. Doesn't make you feel very good, does it? Here's where people are at kind of universally with the Patriots. Everybody thinks the Patriots are average. Everyone thinks the Patriots are average. And that, to me, is a problem. And that's why I'm annoyed. And that's why I'm worried. I don't want to be average. I don't want the Patriots to be in the same way that we consider the Titans or the Cardinals. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And make no mistake, when Dan Orlovsky says it's going to get loud there, he means that Bill Belichick could be on the hot seat. And Bill Belichick will be on the hot seat at some point if this doesn't improve. Bill Belichick does not have a lifetime achievement award here. He does not have a lifetime contract. I have never heard people talk about the Patriots as disparagingly as they are now and as across the board as they are now. Right? For a little while, it was, well, you know, they don't have Tom Brady and they'll figure it out and they're resetting the payroll and all that. And then it was, well, Mac's a young quarterback and okay, it's all right. We'll see where he's at. He's got some nice things. Last year, it started to get a little bit loud. And this year, I've never heard this before. I mean, I kind of have to get all this audio, we have a couple of different places that we'll go to, right? I will grab all the audio in the morning and I go to a couple of different places. When I went to those places today, it's universally negative. I've never heard that before. That's where the Patriots are at. They are thought of now in a negative light, and that is what I am bothered by, and that's what I'm fighting against. Texter says, Dan, meaning Orlovsky, understands the fan base, saying that people are appreciative, but if they don't win, you know, it's going to get loud. I mean, yeah, that is the fan base, and I think that it's fair. Now, I have always said I'm not a greedy fan. Okay, I'm not a greedy fan. I don't require my team to win every year. If my team wins a championship once, I'm generally set for a while, right? Seahawks won the Super Bowl in 2013. It has now been a decade. I want them to win the Super Bowl. I'm glad they're watchable. I want them to be interesting, but I'm not like firing everybody if they don't. I'm still living off 2013, and that's just me. And I think that I'm rare, but most people in New England are not going to do that. Tex says, we've been spoiled rotten. The expectations are crazy high. I agree. Again, I can live without winning it, but I have now been kind of by osmosis assimilated into these high expectations as well. It's one thing for your team not to win. It's another for your team not to do the proper things to prepare to win. And that's the problem, right? When I look at the Seahawks over the last 10 years, they've made moves. They've taken shots, right? They haven't all worked. They haven't won the Super Bowl since. But they went after and they got Jimmy Graham. Then they went out and they let Richard Sherman go. They let Earl Thomas go. And they signed other guys in their place. They traded for Jamal Adams. The Seahawks have tried things to win the Super Bowl. Now, again, it hasn't worked. But at least they're taking shots. The Patriots feel like they're not taking shots. And everybody else around them is. And that's the issue for me. I can live. If the Patriots went 12-4, 12-5, and just lost in the AFC title game, I could probably get okay with that. But when you don't do the things necessary to try to get to that point, I become very frustrated. And everybody else seems to be frustrated because that's where all this negative rhetoric comes from. People are universally down on this team in a way I've never heard before. I've never heard that before. Texter, Belichick won't ever be on the hot seat. Yeah, he will. Did you hear Robert Kraft this week? Do I need to play that back again for you? Robert Kraft said you either win or you don't. If Bill Belichick doesn't win, he will be on the hot seat.
Bill is exceptional at what he does, and I've given him the freedom to make the choices and do the things that need to be done. And his football intellect and knowledge is unparalleled from what I've seen. And just when you talk to him, the small things analytically that he looks at. But in the end, this is a business. You either execute and win or you don't. And, that's where we're at, I think.
Yeah. Don't tell me Robert Kraft. Don't tell me Bill Belichick can't get on the hot seat, because he can. Robert Kraft says you win or you don't. Now, how many wins does Bill Belichick have to get this year to stay off the hot seat? I do not think that Bill Belichick's going to get fired this year. If they went 2-15, could he? Sure, but they're not going 2-15. And I think they're probably between 7-10 and 10-7 again, but I think they're closer to 7-10. If Mac Jones shows improvement and they're around 500, I think Bill Belichick keeps his job. It would be the next year that he enters solely on the hot seat, like completely on the hot seat. 1,000%. If Bill Belichick comes in 2024 and they're coming off another year where they haven't made the playoffs, that's the one where he's on the hot seat. And he will get there. And Robert Kraft could, and I believe will, fire him if it comes to it. What's the likelihood they pick another star receiver? Juju was good, but he's not as good as he was. Do you think he's going to be a good fit? That comes from Mike in Waterbury Center. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is a replacement for Jacoby Myers. I think the Patriots with Myers and Juju are almost exactly the same. I'd rather have Myers because I like him so much, but I think Juju Smith-Schuster will be fine, but he's not the number one. Patriots, do I think they're going to draft the number one wide receiver? No. I wish they would, but I do think it's possible they trade for Jerry Jeudy. That is what I'm holding out hope for. Broncos reportedly are interested or are willing to trade him. Would maybe even take a second-round pick for him. Pats have pick number 46 midway through the second round. I would do that deal in a heartbeat. And then I would sign Jerry Jeudy to a long-term contract extension. We will see if they do it, but I don't think they're going to draft a wide receiver at number 14. But I'm pushing for them to trade for Jerry Jeudy. That's going to do it for us here on the Friday edition of the Brady Farkas Show. We're back at it on Monday, albeit with a shorter show. We kind of get into these shorter shows now as the Red Sox are playing on Monday at 7:10, so the pregame show is 6:10. So 40-minute show. We're up until 5:30 until 6:10. So check us out on the podcast channel, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and WDEVradio.com. And there goes Jazz with George Thomas next.
Are you looking to get rid of your used mobile home? Here at Fecto Homes, we don't just